What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm going to break down some big headlines that came out involving the stock, what you should be watching for as time progresses. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. Anyways, going back to Tesla right now, we're barely holding our 200 EMA as support on the 4-hour time frame. If Tesla were to lose this critical support, we're going to be looking for a bigger dip back down to that 210 area, potentially even lower levels as the share price is making lower highs. Now, the question is, what's going to affect Tesla? What are the headlines saying about it? I want to talk about that first before I break down more details about the charts. So, one thing worth mentioning is that a Tesla investor known as Ross Gerber says that he's been dumping the stock, and he claims it's because nobody wants the company's cars or robots. So that's actually a very, very interesting view. I respect him having his own opinion, but I just want to say that this is very important because he sold about basically $60 million worth of his Tesla shares. So that's something that's very important. Since he acquired them back in 2022, he's been slowly selling that money, according to what he has said. He's still holding in his investment fund about 50 million worth, but he has been reducing his overall positions. That's some very, very uh, big news, if anything. He basically is dismissing bullish talk on Tesla's robotics, the FSD, and things like that. And he thinks that they should just focus on selling cars. That's his opinion. I personally disagree with what his points are, but it is what it is. If he wants to have that view, he has the right to do whatever he wants. So that's part of why we may have seen Tesla dip. Not to mention the fact that Canada is imposing a 100% tariff on imports of Chinese made EVs. Not to mention new tariffs on particular products such as steel products and aluminum ones. That's going to be very important too. So this is including Tesla, of course. So that's part of why we saw Tesla dip a bit. For news about the market as a whole, I didn't see much. Apple has selected a new CFO, and I'm not really seeing anything else that's too crazy. But that's what I'm seeing, at least for the time being. Now, for today, it is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. The house price report came out. Nothing too crazy. Market's down just a little bit, but nothing too insane. Look for more volatility during the 10 o'clock a.m. hour. So 30 minutes and 1 hour after the market opens, we have the Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, manufacturing shipments, and some services revenues data coming out at 10 o'clock a.m. The market may make a move based off that. And at 10:30 a.m., we have the Fed services data that may also cause some volatility. Those are the main times to watch for it. Besides that, there's not really much else coming out in terms of data. And then as a reminder, we have minor bank earnings today, but the main earnings for Wednesday is going to be Nvidia. So that's going to have a big effect on the markets. Anyways, going back to the charts, Tesla is trying to hold this support, our 4-hour 200 EMA at 212.49. We have resistance at 214.69. It's basically 215, that area up there. If we get above the 215s, we're looking for 217, followed by this confluence of resistance, which is going to be right over here around this 220 area. Now, if we don't hold above the 212.5 area, if we start losing that, we're at risk of coming all the way down to 210. And if that fails us, there's going to likely be a bigger dip as we have a possible inverse cup and handle like structure. And if you look at the structure as we're making lower highs, this is looking a little bit more bearish. So, in my opinion, Tesla is barely holding the support. There is a risk of it coming down to 210 or so. And if we were to lose that, then yes, it's going to be at risk of even more downside. So you want to be very careful. This chart is looking a little bit weaker. It does look more bearish, but we haven't lost critical support yet. We haven't lost our 200 EMA. So that's going to be your confirmation. If we lose that, that's going to be one sign of weakness. If we lose the low from Thursday, that's a second sign of weakness. That's going to bring Tesla much lower. Now for SPY, we're currently just barely sitting at our 20 EMA. See this green line right over here on the 4-hour time frame. This is where SPY bounced off of last time. So now we're barely going to be testing this support. I could see us hit the 558, but then we'll see if we get a bounce. Because remember, even if we do dip below it, we could still get bought back up and close above it by the after hours or so. So my point is, we're going to be watching this level. Can we dip below this and get bought back up? And try to hold above it. So watch 558 as a very, very key support, and then 556 to 555. If we lose 555 to 556, there's going to be a bigger dump. And if we break past 560, we could turn back up. I presume we could dip a little bit more, and we might see some consolidation around here. We'll see if buyers try to defend us at this area. So look for a little bit of a dip, and we'll see if the buyers eventually defend us by the end of the day. But there is a risk of more downside for the time being. Nvidia is range bound. We popped a bit only to come back down. Looking at 124.7 and then 122.5 as our supports. Our resistance at 126.5, followed by 128. We're stuck in this range so far. There's a risk of us dipping a little bit lower, but we're just going to be watching this for the time being. Nvidia could dip a little bit, but I think it's just going to remain range bound. So the closer we get to 122, the more we're going to get bought back up. And we're just going to kind of continue to trade sideways, in my personal opinion. Bitcoin's dipping a little bit. So we ended up losing our support. We're down to about 62,250. I did predict 62,500 yesterday. This actually trended lower, so our EMA is now at 62,188. If we lose that, so we're going to be dipping down to this imbalance towards 61,500. If we hold this, we're going to be bouncing back up to 63,000. But as of right now, we look a little bit more bearish. For other factors out there, we also have the QQQ. This is dipping towards our 50 EMA. This is at 472. If we lose 472, there's going to be a big dump all the way down towards 464. If we hold 472, we could try to rebound. This is looking a little bit more bearish thus far. So we need to get back above 475 to turn back up. Otherwise, we are favoring the downside, and that's what we're doing thus far. ES has the same thing, essentially. We're starting to favor downside. We actually have a gap down here. You could see how 5640 is not really holding up on SPX. So we might be dipping a little bit lower right here towards 5600 or lower. Sorry, this is ES. That was SPX I was talking about. So on ES, we are looking like we might dip a little bit closer to 5600, just like that of SPX. So it looks a little bit more bearish to me as we made a lower high right here and we're kind of rejecting. So if we lose 5620, we're going to be looking for 5600 flats. That's going to be our next potential target. For the IWM, we look a little bit more bearish. I'm going to be looking for this 217.5 area, our 20 EMA. I mentioned to everyone this might dip, and that's what happened since yesterday. Just a few more, guys. Coin is dipping a little bit. We've lost 203. We're looking at 200 and 197 as support. 203 is going to be our resistance, but we look more bearish. Amazon's losing 175, so I do see this imbalance filling. I think we're going to be dipping down to 172. For Meta, if we don't reclaim 525, I think we're at risk of retesting 515 and potentially the 510 and 508 area. So we have a bearish divergence. Microsoft looks more bearish as well. If we end up losing 411, I'd be looking for basically 408. And then for Google, I'm basically going to be looking at 166 to be tested. We'll see if it holds or not. But for now, I think Google's more range bound. Anyways, that's it for my analysis, guys. I want to make this one very, very quick and simple. So I just want to thank you all so much for listening. The market is looking more bearish so far this morning. Tesla's barely at support, but I'm seeing a weakness building on it for the time being. But the question is, can we hold Thursday's low? If we hold above it, there's a chance Tesla could hold up. If we lose it, there's going to be a risk of us dipping even more. So just want to give you guys a heads up about that after the bearish news that came out. I thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.